crypto miners. It's 100% crypto miners. Silly intros aside, cryptocurrency mining, while making the situation worse, is actually one of the less important contributors to the current spike in GPU prices. If you remember back to 2018 and the Bitcoin boom, GPU prices went through the roof for a solid 8 or so months. I vividly remember this, as this was when I was first getting started on this channel, and it made it really difficult recommending hardware when it costs $800 for an RX 570. Thankfully though, prices settled down in 2019, and thanks to that I was able to put together the current build I have right now, specifically purchasing a 1080 for less than $300. It's still going strong almost 2 years later, and I suspect a similar situation will happen in the coming year. However, blaming only cryptocurrency ignores a massive global event that's affecting every industry and has caused a global recession. It's weird how history seems to repeat itself on roughly 100-year cycles, and like 100 years ago, we're currently in a global pandemic that's affecting not only the health of the individuals, but also the economic side of things. When this first began roughly a year ago, international travel was essentially halted, and since it reopened, it hasn't recovered to pre-2020 levels. This affects not only international travel, but also international shipping, and when you're printing your chips in Taiwan, such as the case with AMD, and you have to ship the wafers from Taiwan to another facility where the chips are then diced and placed on substrates, when commerce comes to a halt, the cargo, no matter if it's a car or a CPU wafer, it's just not getting to where it needs to go. Think the situation we just had with the ship blocking the Suez Canal. I've been seeing memes all over the place about how my new RTX 3080 I bought is stuck in Egypt, and this exact scenario occurred for almost the entirety of the last year, where international shipping was slowed to a crawl. Even though we're opening back up and starting to allow international travel again, you have to keep in mind that planes usually carry cargo along with people when they fly from a destination. This sort of thing is super common, and if you've ever flown on an airplane before, you'll usually see them loading on FedEx or Amazon packages just to save some time. This is why we have same-day and 2-day delivery from Amazon, and when people aren't flying, neither is the cargo that's supposed to go in the belly of the plane. This leaves ships and trucks, which have been proven to be sufficient over the past 100 or so years. However, they're slower, meaning you have to wait longer for your shipment to arrive. If I'm a retailer and I want to buy 1,000 RTX 3070s to stock my shelves, I have to order the cards, possibly wait for them to be manufactured depending on how backed up the factories are, and then wait 2 months for all your cards to sail across the Pacific before having to wait even more time for your shipment to go through customs and taxes. It's a massive game of hurry up and wait, and this explains why cards seem to restock on major retailers in cyclical patterns. And it's these patterns that people are putting bots on and buying as many as possible to then sell at marked up prices. It's brilliant from an engineering and business perspective, but it sucks to get the short end of the deal. Hopefully though, as we begin to open back up, people will have less boredom to deal with, so they won't have as much time to sit down and program or train all these bots. However, until we go back to pre-2020 levels of international travel, prices will likely remain higher than usual. However, there's also another side to this coin that is honestly very different from a pandemic. Alright, so up until this point in the video, I've been trying to give the market the benefit of the doubt, and tried blaming a lot of the supply issues on the current pandemic. However, this is only partially responsible for supply, and not the insane prices we're seeing. I saw an RX 5700 XT for $1,300 a day or two ago, and keep in mind that that's more than what an RTX 3090 is supposed to cost. So if the pandemic isn't responsible for these exorbitant prices, then how can this be explained through cryptocurrency? Well, the answer is actually intuitive, but not intuitively obvious unless you know how cryptocurrency is generated. From an oversimplified viewpoint, cryptocurrency is currency that's backed up by computations, rather than a physical good such as gold or silver. This has its benefits as it's more decentralized than a central government printing and issuing money, and also puts the power of production in the hands of the people, rather than the US or Indian currency mints, for example. Now, in order to produce this currency, it first needs to be, quote, solved through geometric sequences, and if you're familiar with computer hardware, that sounds actually pretty familiar to what a graphics card does. This was all 100% intentional and was designed to make it so that people at home can just mine the currency and then earn and use what they've produced through the blockchain, which is sort of like a master record that keeps everything synchronized. If you're interested in cryptocurrency or other fiat currencies, then I recommend you do some more research on them, as I'm not an expert in this field and am way oversimplifying things and probably missing a lot of nuance that a financial expert would get mad at me for. But getting back on track, the issue with having cryptocurrency operate like this is that when the computational pool available gets larger, the actual math that's needed to solve these blocks gets harder and or more complex. This is why nowadays it's not worth mining unless you've got a dedicated mining rig, because the overall difficulty of the problems is outpacing the efficiency curve of a single or even older cards you may have in your system or on hand. For example, my GTX 1070, which 3 years ago would have been considered a top-of-the-line mining card, can barely break even anymore because of how inefficient it is compared to newer cards. Not to say you can't mine with it, but the cost of running the thing in terms of kilowatt hours is more expensive than the amount of currency the card would generate. For every 10 cents I spend powering the thing, it would generate roughly 13 cents in revenue, which at this point in time isn't even worth chasing. Whereas before I could easily generate 20 or even 30 cents for every 10 cents I put into the card. It's an issue of economics, and it's more complicated than this card is more powerful so it must generate more money. And it's gotten to the point where the only way to make money off this system is to run multiple efficient graphics cards all working at maximum capacity. This is why the more relatively efficient cards such as the RTX 3000 series are being sold and bought for like $500 over MSRP. But like all good things in life, good things come to those who wait. If you remember back to 2017 and 2018, which was the last crypto boom, prices plummeted once Bitcoin slumped, and thanks to that I was able to buy the 1080 and 1070 you're seeing on screen now. Once this cryptocurrency boom is over, which it's already been going on for a few months at this point, prices will start to drop again. And hopefully we'll see a resolution of both the pandemic and cryptocurrency at roughly the same time, meaning that prices, in theory, should be lower than ever before.